The Senate has officially voted on adopting a measure that forces a deal between the national freight railroad companies and their unions. There was a separate bill too, the bill that would give the workers what they wanted. They don't want just measly 4 days of sick leave. But the legislation, the separate legislation, was a little more generous, 7 days of sick leave. One of them passed, one of them didn't. Can you guess which? Now, the proposal to give workers 7 days of sick leave failed. Wow, what a shocker, to pick up enough Republican support to overcome a 60-vote threshold set for adopting the measure, and fell 52 to 43. Now, my prediction yesterday in regard to people like Josh Hawley, a Republican, turned out to be wrong. But Josh Hawley very likely knew that this legislation wasn't gonna pass. So let me give you the details. 6 Republicans voted for the sick leave measures. Senators Mike Braun, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Josh Hawley, John Kennedy, and Marco Rubio. Get a load of this though, Senator Joe Manchin is the worst person in Congress. He's the only Democrat to vote against it.
So they always tell us, but it's better that Manchin's a Democrat than a Republican.
Apparently not.
He's apparently more right-wing than the Republicans, so there you go. Congratulations, Democratic leadership, for keeping him in the fold. That worked out brilliantly.
Okay, so let's pause, because I want to discuss. I actually want to discuss the House first, because that's where I believe the problem began. And part of the problem, and what enrages me beyond words at this point, is that the Congressional Progressive Caucus went along with this maneuver when I also believe that corporate Democrats knew full well that the bill to give the workers the sick leave that they desperately need and want was gonna fail in the Senate, okay? They could have voted on one piece of legislation, right? Think about that. One piece of legislation that both prevents the workers from striking, I guess, right? Because that's what the goal here is. They don't want the economy to shut down. They don't want to lose $2 billion a day as a result of a strike. But the bill should have included the sick leave. And so why did they separate it, Cenk? Why do you think it was separated into 2 separate pieces of legislation? Why do you think that happened?
Yeah, so here's why it happened. Theoretically, conservative Democrats put pressure on leadership, but that's nonsense. They don't have to put pressure on leadership because Democratic leadership is already very, very conservative on economic issues. So Hakeem Jeffries didn't need any convincing. The number 1 priority is make sure there's no strike and that the workers know their goddamn role. Number 2 priority is set up a fake vote where we know we're gonna lose, but we get to do marketing saying, we're with the workers, okay? So that's the House version of it. And then on the Senate side, we'll have the Republicans block it through a filibuster, but we'll have some prominent Republicans who are pretending to go populist actually vote in favor of the workers.
Exactly.
So that those handful of Republicans can get all the credit for being populist, for fighting for the workers, while the Democrats take the blame. But either way, the donors that gave them the money to both the Republicans and the Democrats are incredibly happy. They get a little pat on the head. Hey, nice job, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, Joe Biden, okay? And hey, look, who's the populist here is Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz. Well, you look at that. I mean, you literally couldn't bungle it any worse than this.
Josh Hawley voted against providing paid sick leave to federal employees. He was a no vote on that piece of legislation. He is not an economic populist. He does not care about ensuring that workers get paid sick leave. And by the way, I mean, if there were a prevalence of economic populists in the Republican Party, we would have no difficulty passing, mandatory family leave, something that we still don't have in this country. We do have in a huge portion of the country forced pregnancy and forced birth, with absolutely no social safety net to catch women and families as they struggle financially and are forced to bring a child into the world. But all of this, you're right, Cenk. The strategy by the, Republicans in the Senate who voted in favor of providing the paid time off, genius.
Yeah, of course, they know it's not gonna pass. By the way, guys, just so you know, the Republicans talk to their colleagues. they know for a fact it's not going to pass.
Exactly.
It's not like they all go to the vote with like, golly gee, I don't know what's going to happen, right? So, and they have a certain amount of Republicans that say that, raise their hand and go, I would like to pretend to be a populist. And they go, oh, okay, sure, you can pretend because we're going to win this vote, right? And then they, by the way, the Democrats do the same thing. They tell Hakeem Jeffries, yeah, you guys can all pretend to be populist. And on the Senate, we're all pretending, other than Manchin, to be in favor of the American worker. We all know we're going to lose. So don't worry about it. And mainstream media, you know there are dogs, right? So they will unquestioningly report the Democrats, oh man, they tried so hard. But golly gee, for the billionth time in a row, there was nothing they could do.
I mean, we should, eventually, maybe you guys do it tomorrow. There should be a comparative analysis on independent media headlines on this vote versus how the corporate media headlines are written. Because from what I've already seen today, it's avert a strike, avert a strike, avert a strike, right? It's a good thing, it's positive. The legislation will prevent the strike from happening, avert the strike. It's not about how unbelievably cruel it is to force workers to essentially, to show up to work sick, right?
0 paid sick days?
0 paid sick days. I mean, it is
absurd.
And we're talking about a monopolized industry that intentionally cut its workforce to the tune of 20% since 2018. Why do you think they did that? They did that to maximize their profits, spend as little as possible on labor, maximize profits so they can do the corporate stock buybacks, so they can do the dividends for their shareholders. That's all that matters to them. That's how the system works. And if anyone believes that members of Congress, especially Republican senators who are buying individual stocks themselves, who certainly do not want to see their stock portfolios suffer from a strike, but also they don't want their stock portfolios to suffer from corporations not maximizing their profits, right? So they always enable the corporate greed over and over and over again. This is how it's done. Most people can't see through this garbage. I gotta be honest, I'm real sick. This has happened multiple times at this point. I'm real sick of AOC in particular. Like one day on Twitter, she'll say, I'm looking out for labor. It's unreasonable. We can't vote to prevent them from striking. They deserve the sick days off. Next day, she agrees to vote yes on the legislation that basically intervenes preventing them from striking. But then the next day,
they had a compromise.
Exactly. There's always an excuse. It's always like high-minded, three-dimensional chess, except you got played. Do you not see that?
So wait, but look, this is just factual. So
Jesus.
And so, look, she is an ostensible ally of ours. We're just being honest with you guys. If you really thought it was a compromise and the workers had a chance of winning, well, then you got played. That's a fact, right? Because they did not win. For the billionth time in a row, Democratic leadership lied to you. The only other option is you knew that it was a fake compromise and you voted for it anyway because you didn't want trouble in Washington. Trouble's a real pain in the ass, right? Oh, then everybody yells at you and everybody calls you the bad guy and they get their goons in corporate media to harangue you. Don't get me wrong, this isn't down, like I get it. There's real pain associated with having courage in Washington.
Courage in life.
Right, and so, but every progressive huffs and puffs, etc. in Washington, and then goes along with the latest compromise with Democratic leadership, which always leads, 100% of the time, leads to the same result, which is, oh golly gee, we lost. So no one could have guessed that the trust Biden strategy wouldn't work.
How many times does it need to happen? How many times? How many times do they need to hear that, oh no, but we need to separate the bills. We need
and we're gonna pass your part later.
Yeah, no, how many times?
Right away.
How many times? How many times does it need to happen? I mean, it's laughable. Okay, so let's move on to what could happen next. Because it doesn't necessarily need to be the end, right? If Biden claims to be, this pro-union president who's really looking out for the workers, there is something he can do, even in this late hour, even after this legislation and everything. So Ryan Grimm notes that union source tells me that their next push will be to demand that Biden include railway workers in the executive order that mandates 56 hours of paid sick leave. And David Dayen also brought to everyone's attention something that I had forgotten that's relevant to this, just to give you some historical context. Obama signed an executive order in 2015 requiring all federal contractors to guarantee 7 paid sick days to their workers. Great. So there is precedent for that. If Biden wanted to, he could go ahead and issue an executive order where the rail companies have to provide the sick leave. Will he do it? I doubt it, but we'll see.
No way.
We'll see.
No way.
Okay, but hold on. There's a second part to what David Dayen tweeted that I think is super relevant. Now, Obama did that for workers, but there was a catch. He specifically exempted the rail industry from it, even though they are federal contractors.
Yeah, look, guys, let's get past the gaslighting in mainstream media. They're always going to tell you that Obama, Pelosi, Biden, et cetera, are American heroes. When they deliver a big fat donut, nothing to you, they always say, oh, there's nothing they could do. I mean, they want in their hearts are golden. It's just their actions suck out totally by mistake and accident,
right.
And there was, et cetera. Right, so I'm going to end you with 3 numbers here. The chance of the strikers, not the strikers, the workers in this case, prevailing and getting the 7 days of sick leave is 0%. 0. If there was 10 Republicans to go along with the Democrats, they would have lost Manchin. If there was 11, they would have lost Sinema, okay? Or they would have lost one of the Republicans. A Republican or a Democrat would have bailed to make sure they never got to 60 in the Senate. And everyone in Washington, including every reporter, knows that. They just all choose to lie to you and play this kabuki theater for you guys. We're the only ones that tell you what the reality is. I mean, the right wing's often loony town, right? And they're like, oh yeah, Republicans love workers. That's why we say they should have no goddamn minimum wages, no sick days, no nothing, no paid family leave. They're like, but we love workers, do you? And then the corporate media does these lies. So the last 2 numbers are $20 billion in profits from recently for the railroad companies. It's a record. So it's not like they don't have the money. They're just spitting in the workers' face, and every goddamn corrupt politician in Washington is helping them spit in the workers' face. Total liars, okay? And the last number is 2 billion. 2 billion a day is what the strike would cost the entire economy. That's why they say, oh, we can't have a strike. Well, one of our viewers, one of our members, I love our members, tyt.com/join, had a comment that I read. I gave $100 to because it was so great. And now the workers are starting to use it all over social media. I mean, I'm sure they came to it from a different place, but it's so, or maybe they didn't, but it's such the right idea. So our member wrote in, they said, oh, apparently the workers are worth $2 billion a day. Yet all of Washington just said they're worth nothing and should get 0 sick days that are paid. So, okay, we have our answer. The workers are invaluable and Washington doesn't give a goddamn about them and will screw them at every turn, including the Democrats. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.